In this video, we're going to discuss the difference between default formats and field property formats. This video and this information, while we're not going to discuss specifically these items or show specifically these items, also applies to default merge text and field property merge text. So I'm going to work with the agreement date variable for this example. As you can see, I already have my template open. If you haven't opened your template already, go ahead and launch HotDocs. Open your library, edit your separation agreement template, and open your component manager. I've opened my agreement date variable, and you'll notice here that I have a default format box. This information also applies to this non-breaking box that is here as well. Non-breaking in general, just while I'm here and discussing it before I go on to default format, it prevents information from breaking across, or your data that you're typing in from breaking across two lines within the finished document in Word. And so I tend to only use that in situations where I know my variable field is at the end of a line, similar to client full name computation, and I wouldn't want the answer because it has the potential to break across two lines. All right, so let's talk about default, because both default format and non-breaking are defaults here, even though it doesn't seem like it. Default is the information is saved in the component file as part of the variable's properties, and it is used every time the variable is used wherever it's used, with the exception of perhaps within a computation. The defaults for variables are very specific to the type of variable, so from variable to variable, or they will differ. You can see here for our date variable, we have formats that look like dates. It may spell it out a certain way, etc. If I select this one and I click OK, just to give you an idea in the document, here I have the field for agreement date. That's where its result is going to go. I click test a symbol. I'll go ahead and put in today as the date, and I click on preview. Notice that although this is how the date looks when I'm typing the answer in, HotDocs takes that date, so this is a very passive thing, takes that date and changes it for whatever the default format was and merges it into the document that way. Now, anytime agreement date is its field is placed on this Word document or this Word template, HotDocs is going to use that same format for its answer. And that might be really nice for something like names or anything else you want to print in. However, there may be instances where we don't want the agreement date to print the same way every time. And while I know the agreement date wouldn't appear in this location of the template, I really want to show you the difference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away from what a default is, something that's stored in the component file as part of the variable, to a field property format. They're both formats, they're just used differently within HotDocs, and they are applied differently within HotDocs. So here we have two fields. So when we start talking about field property, we talk about how this particular field works, thinks, feels within the confines of the template. And you get more than one field for a variable, like I have here for agreement date. So maybe down here we want the default format to merge into the document. Up here, maybe we want it to say, August 7th, 2015. That would be a field property format because we want the two fields to work differently. So I'll double click on the actual field. You'll notice that it has a format here for what's there from the default. And it's saying to use the default right now for this field. I'm going to uncheck that, and you can see here's the non-breaking for that field, and I'm going to ignore that. And I'll say for this field, I want it to say June 3, 1990. Okay, so I'm just choosing a different format. When I do that, I get this colon, so HotDocs knows this is something that's different from the variable's name, and then it indicates what the format is. It doesn't indicate a default format on the face of the document because those are stored within the component file. Now, just testing this all together, and I'm not going to answer anything other than the date. So just ignore everything else. I'll go ahead and do 5/6/90. If I look in the preview, May 6, 1990 is what prints here. 5/6/90 is what prints here. So you can see the difference, the default being used down here and the field property format being used here. Now, I can actually apply two field property formats. I'm going to take the default off to do this. And I'll uncheck. You can see there was nothing in the use default. And maybe down here I want it to say 3rd day of June 1990. That's just the example format, the example date we use in our formats. And again, I'll do 6/7/1980, 1885, 1985. Now you can see how both the dates are different. I didn't use a default this time. I said there's really no default for this, which in that case it's going to use the settings from the HotDocs library to determine how it should merge in the document. Instead, I'm saying, yeah, we do need the date to look different, but it needs to be specific to each field within this template. As I mentioned before, there are specific defaults and field properties for different variables like merge text. And while you look at the variables and you're working with HotDocs, you'll see those. This video generally is talking about the difference between default and field properties while using format as the example for that. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.